So the question was asked, most humans experience pain in intensity but never joy at the same intensity. It's almost as if we are hardwired for dukkha. How can sadhana enable us to shift towards experiencing joy fully every moment? Now, there are multiple assumptions here which are not always true. It is generally true that people feel more in pain, but to say that we never experience joy at the same intensity is not true. What happens is that we remember the painful experience much strongly than the joyful experience. But to say that we actually, the joyful experience may be more intense than the painful experience. But because pain is unpleasant, because pain is pain, so we remember it and we recall it as being, and that is why most significant experiences in life are also tied to the pain and suffering that you had. You know, people, when they go through trauma, they grow or they break, but always the important turning points in life are traumatic. Almost always. But it is not true that joy is never as intense as suffering, because people never really experience joy in its intensity. You experience watered down versions of it. When we experience intense emotions, they are usually three. They are pain, they are sexual, and they are anger. So that is why people are afraid of intense people, because the experience of intensity is always prachanda. Somebody is prachanda, the experience of prachandata is always sexual intensity, temper intensity, and pain intensity. So this setting is very deep in the human psyche, and so we are afraid of intense people, whereas intense people are the only ones who are actually alive. So first of all, you must take it out of your mind. This assumption that you are creating is guaranteeing that you will get only all your most authentic experiences will be painful. Yeah, that's a very dangerous assumption. We attract what we are. I have told you guys 1,000 times. If we attract what we are, and we are saying that, you know, your second, it is as if we are hardwired for dukkha. Catastrophic statement. We are hardwired for ananda, not for dukkha. But kya kare? Even somebody as great as Buddha, what does he start off with? Idam khopana bhikkhave dukkham Arya satyam. Now hear this, or bhikkhus, suffering is the first noble truth. इतना pessimistic एक opening sentence है, and the entire philosophy and religion is based on that pessimism that bad things happen. There is a psychological reason why Buddhism flourished all outside India and Bharat rejected it, because Bharat mein ananda hai. And therefore the core, where dukkham Arya satyam, subconsciously, even though today we have accepted it, we have internalized it, but we could never, the Hindu mind could never accept dukkham Arya satyam, no. And so that is the reason why, one of the major reasons was the psychological dissonance between Hindu dharma and the experience of the divine is blissful, but Buddha didn't believe in the divine. No? He just believed in karma and existence. At least it seems so. Therefore, they have become one of the most deva-rich cultures. Buddhism. Devta hi devta hai Buddhism. It is almost as if we are hardwired for dukkha. No, that is a socialization process. Society trains you to expect, be careful, don't do this, don't do that, arey something will happen, kuch ho jayega, log kya kahenge, you know, that kind of. So we train our people to expect trouble. Also because of our economic circumstances, for a long time we have been in an economic slump, and therefore we are always in a safety first. We are in a pain is an evolutionary mechanism to avoid permanent damage. You're given pain so that you don't do something that could end up killing you. But we have we have trained ourselves to like first let there not be any loss. We are a loss prevention society rather than a gain society. The first thing is there must not be any loss. So if there is loss, then that causes pain, that causes fear, that causes apprehension, because people are on the verge of destitution. The average person lives on the verge of destitution, so loss is a very big thing. So in that sense, social circumstances have hardwired for dukkha, but it was not the truth. And you should not allow that thought to take hold of your mind. You should not allow that thought to take hold of your mind, because then it will start coming true. How can sadhana enable us to shift towards experiencing joy fully every moment? You cannot experience joy every moment. You'll die. Joy is the peak of the human intensity. Ananda is the peak of the human intensity. Nataraja can be like that. That is why he is called Ananda Tandava Murti. He is in that peak of that joy, divine bliss. If you can be happy every moment, or you can be more than happiness, you can be calm every moment. That is actually what you need to. Equanimity, Samatha, what Sri Aurobindo used to regard that as the highest yogic quality. That no matter what life throws at you, your internal emotional stage does not change. That you look at both the wonderful experiences and the terrible experiences with the same equanimity, Samatha. That you don't get thrown off balance because something terrible happened or because something wonderful happened. We want a life where only wonderful things happen, and that's not how nature works. There is always a balance in things. But the point of the yogic mindset is to be in that samatha. The point is to be in a unbroken, where everything is regarded as phenomena. This happened, it is phenomena, it happened, it is not happening now. Why am I constantly in nostalgia about what happened? And this is again a problem. How many times I have heard people say that the happiest days of their life were childhood. And I'm like, your childhood was an utter failure. Like, what? No, it was wonderful. I said, yeah, because you've not been trained to live. If the happiest days of your life were your childhood, your parents failed you spectacularly. Are you saying my parents were bad parents? I'm like, yes. Yeah. Your parents completely failed you. Maybe they didn't do it deliberately, but they failed you, because childhood should be training to attain success in adult life. Your happiest day should be as an adult, as a mature adult, not as a child who's barely conscious. So even this experiencing joy fully every moment is the same as saying that we are hardwired for dukkha. Both are incorrect statements. There is no reason for you to be hardwired for dukkha. There is no reason for you to experience joy fully every moment. अरे बर्दाश्त नहीं होगा ये. That intense peak of happiness is given to you so that your whole body is flooded with chemicals and you feel nice and you keep persevering. You keep persevering because you know what is possible. But if you want to flood your body every moment with that, then your body will develop an immunity to it. One of the reasons why people fall out of love is because there is a chemical change. There is a stage of intoxication in the early romantic phase. It is called limerence, 18 months. For 18 months you are one hormonal cocktail and you are just floating in the heavens. After 18 months your body develops immunity to that, and then you no longer like the person, or you like the person less. Limerence stage is over. There is actually a chemical reason for it. So to experience joy fully every moment is asking too much from life, I think. If you can experience joy at the moment of your death, then you have succeeded. to die joyfully, to go out in a wonderful manner. Of course, most deaths are difficult because a person doesn't want to die and everybody else is crying and preventing the soul from passing over. I'm like, let the person go. They've lived a long life. Now keeping them alive is just cruelty. Let them go, but they won't. When I was a small child, I've never forgotten it. I was 3.5, 4 years old. There was an old lady who was on her deathbed. She would do the death rattle. The death rattle when the prana leaves the body and then she'd come back to life. So this happened 3-4 times. And then some wise person said she only cared about her property, her manna, her soil. They actually took some of the soil from the courtyard, mixed it into a glass, poured the water into her, and this time she. I have never ever forgotten that. That the Yamaduta is waiting and she's like. The intensity of that attachment to the soil, of course that time I didn't understand, but in later years I began to understand. If she had that intensity of attachment to a devata, what would have happened? What kind of spectacular human being would have been created? But no, she was absolutely lowest chakra, Mool Adhar. Yeah? Mool Adhar, she was, her entire life energy was stuck in that. So it was an extraordinary thing for me to see, because everybody is like, oh, she's gone. Then you have to start crying again. After the third time, nobody has any tears. Because most of the crying was fake also. Yeah. अंदर ही अंदर, I didn't realize that time, but अंदर ही अंदर सभी सोच रहे थे कि finally, yeah, this person is passing over finally. Now we can get on with our lives. And then she comes back. So it was a great lesson to me about attachments. It was a great lesson to me about how the life energy can be so determined that it even overcomes the death instinct. Now, if you have that kind of willpower in you, put it towards a divine purpose. Don't put it towards a faltu thing like. Imagine somebody dying because they needed to taste their soil one more time. Today, I don't think anybody is that bad. But yeah, there are people, maybe you need to put currency notes on their nose or something, before they pass over. There are people like that even today. But it was not a good or dignified end to a life. When you are old, you should have a dignified exit. You should not have this miserable exit where you're just clinging on to something, abhinivesha, indecent clinging to life. That was my first experience of abhinivesha. There is a point beyond which the instinct to survive is an indecency, So, her consciousness had become perverse in a sense. She had become attached to something that was not but you know how it used to be. We are talking my childhood, that is 55, 56 years back. And she was already very old. So, they were from a poorly educated background, and the only social stature they have is being a landowner. So I can understand the psychology why aisa atak gaya, but it was very undignified. And I was like, one should not die like this. When you die, you should die in full possession of your faculties and with dignity. You should not die like this, grasping for life, pathetically. So you need to train yourself. You need to train yourself to have experienced such moments of joy, of ananda in your life. Ananda is the highest peak of happiness. That when it is time to exit, you can do so with great deal of grace. That is the whole point of yoga sadhana. Sarvam Shivamaya.